Hello everyone, hope you're doing well, I hope you're safe. I wanted to take a few minutes today just to talk about the literary movement research project that we're going to be working on the next few weeks. This week you're going to be choosing a literary movement, and I've already gotten some emails from people taking a look at things like the Salem witch trials and new journalism, and even somebody who might strike out on that one I mentioned in my announcement, the cli-fi fiction, climate change fiction. I wanted to just go through the project and then watch a little video with you about the Harlem Renaissance and talk quickly about it. So this is a research project that is going to take a couple weeks of our semester. You have up till Wednesday to decide which movement you want to examine, and you just need to identify that in the discussion assignment so the class knows who's doing what, and hopefully there won't be some overlapping projects. From Wednesday through the following Wednesday, you need to research and find the information I'm going to talk about here in a minute. And then from next Wednesday until Sunday, you'll have a chance to look through the other students' projects and take some notes and take a short reading assessment using those notes. So let's talk about the project really quickly. We're looking at literary movements, somewhat literary genres, but really time frames that encapsulated some kind of artistic movement. The video that we're going to watch is about the Harlem Renaissance, and that's one of the more famous literary movements. I've provided a list of a number of them from a Wikipedia page. I think there's over 50 on that list. Some of them are movements, some of them might be kind of more tied together with themes, but you could choose anything from that list, or if there's something you really wanted to pursue, please feel free to reach out and email me and let me know. I'm sure it'll be fine for the project. Once you've chosen a time period or a specific genre that you're going to be looking into, here's what you're looking to do for the presentation. Now this is a discussion assignment, so everybody's going to be able to see your work. You're going to want to present a general time frame for the movement. What was happening in the world, what historical forces bound together this movement or these authors or these artists. Maybe if you can find it, what signaled the end of this movement, what really kind of stopped its force, and then maybe what came after it, what it influenced. I think what you're finding in your research is most of these movements were influenced by artistic movements from previous generations. I want you to detail 2 to 4 authors in the movement. Depending on who you find, you might find a lot of information about people, so you only need to do a couple. You might need to add another if there's not a lot of information. But what we're looking for is just some basic biographical information. You can certainly include images or pictures with this presentation. I think those always help. A list of themes, ideas, imagery, or other artistic avenue that ties the movement together. And we'll find a concrete version of this in the Harlem Renaissance, but just think about what ideas or what forces kind of glued these artists together in terms of what they were creating. For example, my prediction is that in about 2 or 3 years you'll see a lot of artistic works coming out of the pandemic, and maybe a whole new literary movement that is bound together by this human experience that we're going through right now. Finally, any major ideas from the period. Is there a specific philosophical or religious movement attached to the movement? Is there some kind of force that was propelling these works forward? Now let's take a look real quickly at one of the more famous ones, which is, if I can find it, there it is, the Harlem Renaissance. Let's play this.
For many, the 1920s evokes images of flappers and speakeasies. But for one group of Americans, the decade was also one of rebirth. It was known as the Harlem Renaissance. For the first time, African American writers, artists, and musicians won renown for their contributions to world culture. Their goal? To find outlets for group expression and self-determination as a means of achieving equality and civil rights. When World War I broke out, American factories experienced a shortage of workers. Many Black Americans living in the South saw this as their chance for a better life. They migrated in droves to northern cities such as Chicago, Detroit, and New York. The New York City neighborhood of Harlem in particular attracted a large number of African American artists and intellectuals. It wasn't long before Harlem became the epicenter of an artistic explosion. Works produced during the Harlem Renaissance appealed not just to blacks, but crossed over to white audiences as well. The musical Shuffle Along, written by and starring African Americans, became a smash hit on Broadway.
I'm just wild about Harry, and Harry's wild about me.
Langston Hughes was among the period's most famous writers. Known for his folksy humor, he was nicknamed the O. Henry of Harlem. Other writers included Countee Cullen, James Weldon Johnson, and Zora Neale Hurston. Great artists also emerged on the Harlem scene, such as Aaron Douglas and Augusta Savage, who opened their own studio and taught sculpture to other African Americans. And then there were jazz legends, among them Duke Ellington, Bessie Smith, and Cab Calloway. After the stock market crashed in 1929, the country fell into the Great Depression, and the Harlem Renaissance began to fade. But by then, the movement had already forged a path for future generations and ushered in a new era in American culture and politics.
All right, so there we see a short, very short presentation on a legendary literary movement, the Harlem Renaissance. It was bound together by a couple forces, right? We had World War I, which forced a migration of African Americans from the South to find work in cities like Chicago, Detroit, and New York. Places within those cities became areas where artists came together and collaborated and pushed new works. Part of those works were for self-determination and self-expression. If you read anything about the Harlem Renaissance, a major idea that was being put forth in a lot of these works was to create a sympathetic portrayal of African Americans by African American authors. And finally, you had, even in some of those works, historical connections to where African Americans came from. So if you look in some versions of Langston Hughes poems or some of the artists' works, you'll see connections to Africa. And what ended it? The stock market crash. And that kind of propels the end of the fun-loving, good times of the Roaring '20s and the Harlem Renaissance. So that's one literary movement. Certainly somebody can claim this if they wanted to pursue some more ideas about the Harlem Renaissance. It's a great movement to look into, but there's a lot of great movements to look into. Take a look at that list on Wikipedia, choose one that you're fascinated by, or come up with one of your own and pitch it to us by Wednesday. From Wednesday till next Wednesday, you'll be doing the research and creating the discussion assignment, and then from next Wednesday until next Sunday, you'll have time to look at other people's assignments. All right, best of luck this week and enjoy your research. Take care.